Welcome to the Ride Boundless podcast, gentlemen. Thank you for making it out. How was the drive? How was traffic? How was the whole thing?
Sunny day in Los Angeles. Beautiful ride.
It's beautiful. I mean, from yesterday to today, it's insane. Like yesterday, the streets were almost flooded, and the river right here was like halfway already.
It was coming down in sheets.
With one day.
Yeah.
With
We're
one
done,
day.
We're done with rain.
We're done.
I'm saying, I'm proclaiming.
I'm personally done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had enough.
Been.
Gentlemen, this is the first time we meet, and you guys represent the DGR, Los Angeles. Do you guys want to do introductions and talk about your roles and how you got involved into the DGR program?
Sure. You want to start?
Rikki Rocket, and for a living, I play drums for Poison, and I got involved with DGR just by showing up a bunch of times.
Nice.
I just would come and do the ride and try to raise as much money as I could. And a couple of the guys from the team approached me and said, well, maybe next year you could be a little more involved. And so my involvement just kind of grew over the years.
Nice.
And then finally now I'm like part of the team. So I got stepped in last year.
That's so awesome. I didn't know you were with Poison.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, just throw it in my face. By the way, I'm all talking about my little...
No, Ricky's been a huge addition to the team. So my name is Steve. I work in tech, which has nothing to do with bikes. I love bikes.
Everything
cars.
to do with bikes.
Well, I like my shit to be analog. But I got involved in 2017. I'm good buddies with Sam Bendel, who brought the ride to LA, and he'd been trying to get me involved for years and years and years. Finally, my schedule worked out. I was free. It's interesting. The ride used to be in September, and it always fell on my son's birthday.
Yeah.
And I was like, buddy, can't miss the kid's birthday, you know? But I got involved because it's an important cause. Cancer and mental health issues, hit my family. Like, I think most of the folks who are involved have personal connections to the cause and supporting the Movember Foundation. But I generally have been involved with, like, the parking, which sounds like, whatever. But it's an interesting part of the ride because you're basically the greeter. You get to get everybody psyched up, keep it all organized, and then we deal with egress, which is like getting everybody off on the ride, and managing volunteers, that sort of stuff, raising money, bringing in sponsors. This year, I'm going to be running the giveaways and the raffle, which is new. I've never done it before, so it should be a lot of fun. We have some really great prizes coming up. I'm not going to divulge anything, but the team's been working really hard to bring that stuff together. So
Very nice.
yeah, it feels like it's going in and out.
Yeah. The closer you are to the mic, if you stay within like a fist,
super close,
it's way better usually. and it's funny because I used to tell people a lot, and then somebody's like, "Dude, you shouldn't tell them; it's kind of rude." And then I'm like, "All right." And then
you sound as shit.
I've had a few episodes where people are like, "Dude, you should have told me," and I'm like, "All right." Parking's no joke. I mean, you're talking about 500, 600.
It's like 600 bikes.
Dude, that's like the hardest.
And you know what's super interesting about it? You get a lot of like new riders, who are like maybe not so confident in parking their bike, especially when you have to like stack super tight.
Right.
So it's a bit of a learning curve, and there's definitely a diversity, but it's fun. Like, that's an opportunity to help them build that confidence, and it's like, it's cool, man. You don't know, we'll help you.
Yeah,
got you.
It's normal. Yeah,
it's great. We welcome everybody, but you do get to know every single rider who shows up. And it's this whole community that comes together now every year, and there's always new faces, and there's faces you see once a year, and you only see them at the ride. It's really fun. So.
It is pretty intimidating if you think about it. Like, if you're the guy that drops your bike, because nobody's going to care, and everybody's going to try to help you get
40
it up.
people will help you pick it up.
Easy.
Yeah.
But there's that he dropped his bike. That's kind of.
Well, it's like a big stage. It's like everybody's there. They're all dressed up. Everyone wants to look cool.
Yeah. Yeah, people are super intimidated. Yeah. But I love the fact that it's welcoming a lot of people to come in and ride, because some people that are new to the biker industry, or like, getting on a motorcycle, some people just got their license, but it has people from all walks of life, which is a very beautiful thing. What attracted you from getting in?
I'm a big motorcycle guy. I have 7 currently.
Is that it only?
No, I'm not counting mini bikes. So, and I like all aspects of motorcycling. I mean, I like, road bikes. I like adventure bikes. We talked about Jim Hyde for just a second. I know Jim.
Yeah,
he's
so
actually
cool. He's
very
awesome.
close to where I live because I live in Castaic, and
Oh,
he's a
Castaic,
hop,
nice.
skip, and a jump from me. One of my best friends is a coach for him. So, so I've been involved in motorcycles, and I started about 15 years ago. I started a motorcycle club with 5 other guys called the Gridiron Rebels, and it was mainly, yeah,
Oh, no shit.
yeah.
Nice.
And so we,
We're all learning
Yeah,
so
this
much.
is great.
Like, dude, you're like, you just best with people.
So, I mean, our goal was like maybe have 10 guys at the end of the year that were really good friends, could ride around. And
Yeah.
here it is years later, and we've got like 400 members in 12 countries or
Holy
something like
shit,
that.
that's
Yeah,
humongous.
it just really got crazy. So then Ton Up kind of, is our brethrens, and the 59 Club. And I've just watched the whole Cafe Racer thing grow over the last 15, 20 years
Yeah.
to like epic proportions. You know what I mean? So I love that aspect of motorcycling. I love so many aspects of motorcycling. I was at Sturgis in 1989 on the
Whoa.
heels of like the first Poison headlining tour.
Yeah.
We had been out for 16 and a half months, and then people were like, "What are you going to do when your time's off?" I'm like, "I'm going to ride to Sturgis." They're like, "What?"
What? Yeah.
I grew a beard and I rode in. Nobody recognized me for the first 8 days or something. Last day, then they finally figured it out. But and we were at our heyday then.
That's
you
so
know what I mean?
crazy because you think about it, and you're like in the 80s, it's like no GPS. Did you have your iPhone? Like no iPhone, no
None of that.
Waze, no
Yeah, you're
GPS. You
looking
don't know
at
where the
maps,
gas
yeah.
station's at. You don't know how much mileage. Everything's that's
You
wild.
follow
dude.
guys. It's like, hey, there's a guy on a bike. He looks like he's going to Sturgis. So
Fuck it.
I
Yeah.
kind of still do that sometimes.
Yeah.
But so that was, but this cause, so I'm a cancer survivor, okay? And it's a different kind of cancer than.
So many surprises.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Not-
happy
that's
you
not a
beat
good
that.
one, but-
Yeah, I know, but still. But the good and bad, you like, you haven't had. You're not just cruising through life. You've been through ups and downs and created brotherhoods. Amazing.
Well, my good buddy Mike Hughes, Razor Mike, we call him, he's been on every single ride with me so far on Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. And he is a prostate cancer survivor. He's done great. He's back lifting weights. He's a big guy, and, so it just goes to show you that there's absolutely, you can get through it and recover. And that every year there's more and more. I was just down at the cancer hospital yesterday in San Diego, and the strides that are coming, little by little, but very strong strides in cures and treatments are just getting better and better and better and better all the time. There's stem cell therapies, there's CRISPR, there's immunotherapy, which is what saved me. Some of the old school stuff has been tweaked to work way better than it did before. The radiation now, instead of just regular radiation, there's the proton, which they use a lot in prostate cancer.
What's the other one where they take out your blood and they fuse it or plasma?
Oh, it's
plasma.
called CAR-T, C-A-R-T-T, cell therapy.
And it's like a plasma, right? Where they
I
like
don't
take the
know.
blood out and they like.
It's a form of immunotherapy, and I'm not 100% sure how that works. What I was on was a checkpoint inhibitor, so it works differently. But they use that for lymphoma and stuff like that, and there's been kids saved with it. And, when I see those kind of miracles, I'm like, what we're doing out here, it doesn't matter what cancer it is. There's some new gene therapy coming out that's going to revolutionize lots of stuff.
I'm sure. I mean, bringing up technology, one of the main things that I always tell when people are, I have 2 kids and they're like, oh, technology and iPads and phones. I'm like, dude, the best technology right now is medicine. Like, just if you compare medicine 20 years ago, like, dude, it's game changer. And at the pace that it's growing, and especially it's insane because other countries are doing wild stuff that we're like, we're still waiting on, but you see these results and you hear these success stories and you're like, dude, this is wild.
They have less lawsuits in certain other
Of course.
countries.
Of course, they have more room for error, whatever. But some of the success stories, I mean, you're seeing professional athletes leave the country and go to Panama and go to other places and doing like stem cell. Stem cell was blocked from the United States for a long time.
Yeah.
I want to say till like 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Immunotherapy was more prevalent in Germany for a long time.
Right.
But the guy that, I train, that I just lift weights with, he's a trainer. He's a little bit older than me, but he had same cancer as me, head and neck cancer. But
neck
that
cancer.
was 23. Yeah, I had on my tongue, at the base of tongue, and some associated lymph nodes. He had pretty much the same thing, but that was 23 years ago. Mine was 8 years ago. And they just radiated the crap out of him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, and they did surgery, and they just threw the kitchen sink. They're a little more careful how they do it. And he has way more, collateral damage than I do. I still have trouble with, like, saliva and stuff like that. But, he really, like, his arm's kind of like this, and he still gets through it, does pull-ups, whatever, But,
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. And I mean, that's why we're all here, because that's what the DGR is helping and promoting and bringing awareness to. It's one of the biggest things. A weird thought crossed my mind. Those stories that you hear about people get diagnosed with cancer and they don't have long to live, so they quit their job, pull out the money out of their account, and then travel the world. And then by the end of 6 months, they're like, they beat it. Like they just beat it. I wonder what would be the percentage. I wonder if motorcycle riding prevents cancer. That's my question.
Wouldn't that be great?
I wonder if there was a study. Guys that ride versus guys that don't ride.
I'd like to believe it's true.
I would think so, man, because I don't know, I'm talking about for myself, but 99% of like stress, like I don't care what's going on, as soon as I put my leg over the bike and turn it on, like I ain't thinking about nothing. I'm not like,
you got to be present.
You got to be so present, and not only do you got to be present, but like you got to be. It's I had a fighter pilot on the show once, and he was talking about that when he flies, how three-dimensional jets are. He goes up, down, Then we talked about cars, and cars are very two-dimensional. And he's like, but on a motorcycle, it's very three-dimensional. I was getting to that point. He goes, no, it's very three-dimensional. The way the bike leans, cars, wheels, they're coming into your lane, they're not coming into your lane. Look in the mirror. Is he looking at you? Is he not looking? Is he paying attention? Is the mirror even focused right? It's so three-dimensional that there is no time to like not be present.
You know what? In a complicated world, things get simple real fast.
Right.
You're making binary decisions. It's moment to moment. You have to be present, and it clears everything out. And I think that, as far as like mental health goes, motorcycling is just a great escape.
Right.
Like in general, right? Now, if you factor into that, the community that you could build around motorcycling, I'm a big advocate of motorcycle trips, just like leave. Everything fits in a backpack, go away for a week. The problems you solve along the way are entirely different than the problems you're going to solve at home.
Right.
It's a good way to like rebuild confidence and reconnect with folks. I mean, the benefits of motorcycling go well beyond, the need for speed.
Yeah.
By the way, excuse me, have you watched the series Masters of the Air?
No.
It's amazing. It's about fighter pilots in World War II, the strikes of the Bloody 100 that did the strikes over Germany. And I went down the rabbit hole because my uncle was in the Army Air Corps, and he was a reconnaissance photographer in the South Pacific. So I've always been interested in that stuff, right? And these, B-17 bombers, the flying fortresses and all that stuff. These guys were like, it was like 60 below up there. And they were having open windows to fire at. I mean, it's
wild,
just,
yeah.
But
no
like
seatbelts.
True grit of the true grit of that generation is something I think we can all take some cues from in the real world. And I mean, can you imagine like fighting that with flak coming up, other guys attacking you, dealing with the elements, like all this stuff, not knowing if you're coming back.
Oh yeah.
Give it, and I mean, all that goes, every current present problem goes away.
Everything.
And I learned that when I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu about 23 years ago, something like that. And it helped me so much. It's kind of like what you were talking about with like, you're solving a different set of problems in that moment. When you got a 225-pound Brazilian bent on your destruction on top of you, and he's got, mounted.
Yeah, you're not worried about the credit card bill or your next paycheck. It's like that. I forgot where I heard it. Probably heard it on Instagram, but it was like a healthy person wants a million things, but a sick person only wants one thing.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a really good.
and I like how that was worded, because, you know, we all go through those phases where it's like, you know, we're well, it's interesting too, because I have this thought that I've talked to a lot of people. I meet a lot of people. I kind of want to say people like to struggle.
Oh, there's a lot of safety in struggle.
There's a lot.
If you do
Is that what it is?
If you do it wrong, I have a theory. You can get addicted to struggle. You can get addicted to being a victim because it absolves you of responsibility for your own happiness. If you can point to something that's preventing you. I know a lot of people that live in that space. And it's always something.
Always.
Mountains become molehills by, you know, it becomes an addiction. The small things become big things. And it's a shame. Right?
It is a shame.
Every day is a gift, right? So
it is a shame.
And it's what you make it.
But you see it.
Yeah.
You see people like struggling. I don't know. I have a Spanish por gusto, like on purpose. And like, dude, why are you doing that? Like, why are you?
You want to know what I heard from a psychiatrist?
Please.
The brain is not meant to be happy. It's designed to survive.
Right.
So if you're already surviving and you're good to go, you're looking for stuff, right?
Right.
Your brain's just peripheral looking for problems.
Well, that's like the whole, like, you know, going, you know, working out. You know, your mind's like, no, just sit on the couch, just watch TV.
Oh, happy is
You're
hard.
alive. Don't do it. But then
Happy's hard.
it's screwed up, because your mind, if it wins the battle, guess what? You stayed home, you ate bad food, you watched TV. But then at the end of the day, your mind's going to go, you piece of shit. You didn't go to the gym, you lazy fuck. You know, like, it's going to, like, I don't know. People like, it is a cycle, man.
No, happy's hard, man. Like, it's when you struggle, you're in survival mode. To Ricky's point, you have a purpose, you have a task, you're focused, and the path is pretty clear. It's like, I got to solve this problem. When there's no storm, and you got to just be happy with who you are, and you have time to look around and like think about things.
Yeah,
it gets dodgy. That's why like this mental health aspect of DGR is so important, because there's so many things to unpack. You know, when you're not in a crisis.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's the time to do the work in my mind. I've spent a lot of years in therapy. It's been incredibly helpful. I recommend for everyone. But it's funny, you were talking about World War II, and like, it just makes me think of like, those guys came home, right? And they were supposed to like go to work and have a family and be normal. But after being in that environment, like that's an incredible burden, and they didn't have the resources that we have to unpack all that stuff.
Right.
You know,
and Vietnam veterans too.
Yeah.
That's, you know, when we wrote Something to Believe in, that song, at that time, you know, that was our first headlining tour. When we came off that, and that we wrote that song. We had several Vietnam vets that were on our road crew, and I'd watch some of these things that these guys would go through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, it's
It was
like
so
nobody was
horrific.
paying. You know, here they are working for us. You know what I mean? Hey, what can I do to make your day better? I'm like, I'm a punk kid from PA here
With 7
that got
motorcycles.
really lucky
Yeah.
with this band, like, and you worked your ass off in the fucking bush somewhere in Vietnam, like, you know, something's backwards here. But you know, we just felt like, I think that we owed those people like a little bit of credence, you know, in our song, and that's why we put it in there.
Yeah.
You know, there's a big piece of a chunk of the song that's in there, but I learned a lot, so much about all that back then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so different. It's so different. I was reading a comment about, you know, in World War I, World War II, kids would lie about their age to go to war.
Yeah.
To go to war, because they were like, oh, you know, and now kids lie to not go to war. But, you know, when you start looking at things then and now, like, it's so different, because our government has been exposed so much. And it's like right now, did you see the soldier that burned himself?
I did.
Very sad, man. So a soldier burnt himself.
I'll look that up later.
Yeah, this I think he was like a major or general, not a general, but like a major or something. Like he was an officer, and he set himself on fire. And right before he set himself on fire, he's like, I'm not going to participate in genocide. I'm not, you know, because he was talking about the whole, like, what's going on with Israel. And
Who's he soldier for?
Army, I believe.
United States.
United States Army. Oh, an American soldier lit himself on fire, and last thing he said is, I am not going to participate in genocide. I would rather burn myself. And he severely, and again, this is mental health, this is war, this is everything. But our government's been so exposed about like why we're doing and going into wars, you know, and I, you know, I've who's loud ass motorcycles on? Who's loud?
Transparency in government.
Transparency in government. That if you start looking at why we used to go to war, it was because we were going to war. We were going to war for our country. We were going to war for many
It
things.
was a lot easier to control the message.
And it was a lot easier to control the message. Now I've had people that, you know, been in the military, served 20 years, you know, Navy, Air Force, this, that. And it's like, would you go join now? And they're like, no chance. You know, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I mean, it's just things
regardless of political stance, the democratization of information is the biggest challenge to democracy. Right? Like everybody's got an opinion, everybody's got a platform, everybody's got weight. It's really hard to separate fact from fiction from opinion in today's world. And look, I work in social media, so like, and I've been there since the beginning, so I get it. But yeah, it's challenging. It's a lot more complicated. On the one hand, it's great that folks have a voice, and it's great that we can communicate information, you know, seamlessly, and we should have transparency in all things. But that puts a bigger responsibility on the individual to do their, you know, to learn and pay attention to facts and have an open mind and like realize that there's a flood now of information.
Literally, a flood.
Issues are complicated.
Which is also
a complicated
great
place
too.
It's wonderful. It's
is
wonderful, but you have to, you know, be educated.
Yeah.
It's how do you do it though? Because there's so much, I mean, there's so much disinformation out there that
Always
it's
be
like
learning.
You know, you think that you're researching something, and then it turns out that that wasn't the real information anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's tough.
It
really
is tough.
Who do you rely on?
It's just I think the key would be like just don't go all in with one side of the story.
It's not sports.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
You're allowed
it's
to
not
change your mind.
You're allowed to change your mind. Things change, information
And
change.
that's why they put the two-party political, where people go one way or the other. Go, you know what? I pretty much identify with them, so I'm going to go all in with them. Or I pretty much you know, there's so much truth in the middle. There's a lot of shades of gray here, and I try to be a policy guy. You know what I mean? As much as I can. I don't care where it's coming from, as long as it's truthful and honest and it makes sense. That's where I kind of will put my, you know, my vote. Not,
of course, yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, you know, in these elections and stuff, and I don't want to go down a political because it could get really nasty. But you know, you do have to kind of go all in with somebody, right? So now it's like, oh, now what? You know, shit.
But again, not to get too crazy with it. You should have your decision. I have my decision. I do what I do. You do what you do, and that's it. We should be able to still sit at this table and have a regular conversation. It's just some people's agendas are like, you know, they suspect something.
It's
They're
a
like,
position.
oh, this guy, you know, he has, you know, a podcast. I mean, he said motorcycles and whatever the case is, and people already assume. People get crazy with it, man.
No, I mean, I think we're
going to do a quick pause because we have somebody that's going to join us.